Imagine a ruler so ruthless, his own name became a curse whispered in the shadows of Rome. A man who clawed his way to absolute power over the dead body of his own brother. This isn't a villain from a movie. This was a Roman emperor. His story is one of blood, betrayal, and a madness that threatened to consume the world's greatest empire. This is the story of Caracalla. Our tale begins not with glory, but with bitter rivalry. In the year 211 AD, the great emperor Septimius Severus dies, leaving the vast Roman Empire to his two sons, the ambitious Caracalla and the younger, more popular Geta. On his deathbed, Severus pleaded with them, live in harmony, enrich the soldiers, and scorn all other men. But harmony was the last thing on Caracalla's mind. He saw Geta not as a brother, but as a rival standing in his path. The two brothers were like oil and water. They divided the imperial palace, bricking up connecting doorways, each fearing poison from the other's kitchen. Rome held its breath as the two Caesars circled each other like wolves. The city was split, the Senate was split, even the Praetorian Guard was split. It was a ticking time bomb, and the only question was who would strike first. Caracalla tried everything to get rid of Geta, poison, assassins in the night. But Geta was well protected and deeply loved. The tension was unbearable. Something had to give. And it did, in the most horrific way imaginable. Caracalla devised a final, desperate plan. He proposed a reconciliation, begging their mother, Julia Domna, to host a meeting in her private apartments. He swore he wanted peace. Geta, trusting his mother's presence would ensure his safety, agreed. It was a fatal mistake. As the brothers met, centurions loyal to Caracalla burst into the room. Geta, seeing the blades, ran to his mother, clinging to her and screaming, "Mother, help me! I am being murdered!" But there was no escape. He was cut down in his own mother's arms, staining her robes with his blood. Caracalla, now the sole ruler of the Roman world, walked out of that blood-soaked room and straight to the Praetorian Guards' camp. His hands were still trembling, his conscience screaming, but his ambition was ice-cold. He declared that he had narrowly escaped an assassination attempt by Geta. He promised the soldiers a massive pay raise, effectively buying their loyalty with blood money. His first act as sole emperor was to justify fratricide, but the ghost of Geta would haunt him. To erase his brother from history, Caracalla enacted a damnatio memoriae, a damnation of memory. Geta's name was chiseled off monuments, his face erased from family portraits, his statues melted down. It became a capital offense, punishable by death, to even speak his name. Imagine living in a city where a common name is suddenly forbidden, where a single word could get you killed. Rome became a city of fear, where even whispers were dangerous. It's estimated that 20,000 people associated with Geta were hunted down and executed. With his power secured through terror, Caracalla's true nature was unleashed. He was not a politician or an administrator, he was a soldier. He scorned the Senate, preferring the company of his legions. He saw himself as the reincarnation of Alexander the Great, even adopting his hairstyle and attempting to mimic his posture. He dressed as a common soldier, ate their rations, and marched alongside them for miles. This made him incredibly popular with the army, but it terrified the aristocracy. He famously said, "Nobody should have money but me, so I can give it to the soldiers." And he meant it. To fund his massive military spending, he needed cash, and a lot of it. This led to his most famous, and perhaps only positive legacy, the Constitutio Antoniniana of 212 AD. With the stroke of a pen, Caracalla granted Roman citizenship to nearly all free men and women throughout the empire. On the surface, this sounds incredibly progressive, a landmark moment for equality, but his motive was anything but noble. New citizens meant new taxpayers. Granting citizenship was a cash grab on an imperial scale, designed to fill the treasury so he could pay his soldiers more and more. His obsession with Alexander the Great soon spiraled into a dangerous delusion. He created a 16,000-man phalanx armed with traditional Macedonian pikes, a completely outdated formation for the Roman army. He demanded cities honor him as the new Alexander. When the city of Alexandria in Egypt supposedly mocked his claims, Caracalla's fury was absolute. He marched his army to the city, a center of learning and culture. He summoned the city's leading citizens to a banquet, promising them honors. Once they were gathered, he had them all massacred. Then, he unleashed his troops on the general population for days of looting and slaughter. The streets of Alexandria, the city founded by his hero, ran red with the blood of the innocent. Caracalla's reign was a whirlwind of paranoia and brutality. He traveled the empire not to govern, but to wage war and stamp out dissent. He left the administration of Rome to his mother, Julia Domna, while he pursued his military fantasies along the frontiers. His cruelty was legendary. He was known to execute senators on a whim, confiscate property without cause, and trust no one. He was even said to have consulted sorcerers and oracles, desperate to appease the ghost of his murdered brother Geta, which he claimed to see everywhere. But a man who lives by the sword often dies by it. The end for Caracalla came not in a grand battle, but on a dusty road in the middle of nowhere. His constant demands for money and his erratic behavior were creating enemies. One such enemy was a man named Macrinus, one of his own Praetorian prefects. Macrinus had heard a prophecy that he was destined to become emperor. Fearing Caracalla would find out and execute him, Macrinus decided to strike first. The opportunity came in April of 217 AD, during a campaign in the east. While traveling from the city of Edessa to visit a temple, Caracalla stopped on the side of the road to relieve himself, moving away from his bodyguards for a moment of privacy. It was the moment Macrinus had been waiting for. He sent one of his own soldiers, a man named Julius Marcialis, whose brother had been executed by Caracalla, to do the deed. As the emperor was preoccupied, Marcialis ran up and stabbed him. The tyrant who had terrorized the Roman world for 6 years was killed in a single, undignified blow. In the ensuing chaos, the assassin Marcialis was immediately killed by the emperor's loyal German bodyguards. But the damage was done. The man who saw himself as Alexander the Great, the emperor who slaughtered his own brother in their mother's arms, lay dead in the dust. Macrinus played innocent, but soon maneuvered himself into being proclaimed the new emperor. Caracalla's legacy is one of the darkest in Roman history. He left behind some of the most impressive ruins in Rome, the magnificent Baths of Caracalla, a massive public bath complex that could hold thousands, built as a monument to his own grandeur. But these stones cannot hide the truth of his reign. He was a ruler who governed through fear, whose only policy was enriching the military at the expense of everyone else. He was a brother slayer, a mass murderer, and a tyrant whose paranoia and ambition nearly tore the empire apart. His story is a chilling reminder that absolute power can corrupt absolutely, turning a man into a monster and an emperor into a curse. Thank you so much for journeying back in time with us. If you found this story as fascinating as we did, please hit that like button, subscribe for more tales from history, and let us know in the comments which historical figure we should uncover next. We'll see you in the next one.